Now, guys, I gotta ask if you heard that mid-commercial, or did somebody spike my weed?
I want to hear about these short stories.
Jazz is in the center and not Scott Casey.
I always thought
you should have asked Barry. We just got done with him. So if you haven't checked out our interview with author Vinny Barry, we just had him on talking about his book, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. AJ was a big fan of Volume 1.
I was. I am a big fan of anything to do with wrestling from the vault, with the history of wrestling, and Vin Barry does such a great job of getting in depth and getting the stories and really getting behind the scenes.
The Vin man.
Yes, he does.
Love that guy.
Now, guys, we're starting a little bit.
Shit, what you want to talk about?
It's Thanksgiving week, and Dave, would it be fair to say, Randy in here under an assumed name? I like it.
On the Twitch.
Did he go as Randall Oscar?
We're actually streaming on Twitch now instead of Twitter. I figured send it to a different source, and because we're going to be trying something the new year. I'm actually going to announce it now. I'm bringing back the video game streaming in 2023. On Friday nights, I plan on streaming UFC 4 and going through the career mode. And then on Saturday nights, I'm going to do a stream of WWE 2K, and I'm going to go with the GM mode and just play week to week. So it's almost episodic viewing there.
I like that Joe's pretending like it's not the fact that he hates Elon Musk.
Twitter.
Yeah, it's been a while since I streamed some games. Dave will never stream, but we do have to get Chevy back into it. But we're here today basically to wrap up our 1984 discussion, and next week we're going to be continuing with a timeline of 1985. So I reached out to the Mothership Facebook group and tried getting some of their 1984 memories, or what are their highlights. And Dan Titus said that January 23rd, 1984 was the night that changed the business forever. Whether that was good or bad is open to opinion. And Hogan's title reign really it was at the start of my fandom, but it definitely caused a wave in wrestling.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, Hogan is basically the golden goose. Obviously Hogan, I'm sure he owes a lot of his success to Vince and WWF at the time, but you can't say Vince succeeds nearly as good or does as well without Hulk Hogan.
Definitely. Now, former guest of the show, Brian R. Solomon, said Hogan winning the title, Kerry winning the NWA title, because like we said, with David dying, that was big. Flair versus Steamboat at the Meadowlands, war to settle the score on MTV, and Piper and Snuka incident.
How much better would the world of wrestling been, though, if they gave a solid run to the Iron Sheik?
Something
to think about.
He would have definitely had a really good. Yeah, his heel run. I mean, they kept him in the tag teams, and those guys were hated. That run he'd end up having afterwards with Sergeant Slaughter, where Slaughter came back as G.I. Joe, gung ho Sergeant Slaughter. I remember they were selling out and main event and house shows with that, because I remember hearing about that as a kid.
I can't help but think that if you gave him the mic time and the run of Roman Reigns now, Sheiky Baby could have been the biggest thing.
I looked at speaking of some of the memories in there too. When you talked about Kerry, I did look at some, because we always talk about PW Insider here. I'm sorry, Pro Wrestling Illustrated. I always fuck those two up. Shout out to Dave Scheer. But I was looking at some of the awards and stuff for that year, and Kerry Von Erich was voted most popular wrestler of 1984, which I thought was insane.
Well, if your brother died in a fucking drug overdose
I get it.
in Japan,
well,
you might be more popular too.
obviously it's the readers of the magazine, but he was not more popular than Hulk Hogan or even Dusty Rhodes.
It's clearly the sympathy of the magazines. I like Kerry better than Hogan. I want Kerry to be liked more than Hogan.
Oh, me too.
But that's just bullshit.
Yeah.
I like that Dave did research getting ahead of our next segment where we're going to go over some of these rankings, but to share a couple more memories, the Wahoo McDaniel heel run in JCP, that's an interesting one.
His match against superstar Billy Graham at Starrcade in '84, to be honest with you, is one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life. However, the run as a heel of Wahoo McDaniel was fantastic, and he had a good run with the United States Championship.
Dennis Brown has an interesting comment. It was his first in-person card in 1984, and Tito Santana versus Greg Valentine was the main event.
Oddly enough, Denny Brown wrestled at Starrcade '84 also, defending the Junior Heavyweight Championship, so good for him.
That's right. Downtown Denny Brown, baby.
Marty Goldstein here commented, he said, working on shows with Leo Burke and Johnny Weaver. So we got some wrestlers in the mothership group here.
Here's the funny thing, just a little thing. Denny Brown was not the champ going into that match. He actually wrestled a young Mike Davis. No, he wrestled a young Mike Davis, Maniac Mike Davis. And Mike Davis was actually the junior heavyweight champion from Mid-Atlantic.
Maniac Mike. Two different socks.
Now, AJ, did you get to watch Full Gear last weekend?
I did. I watched it primarily to see where you guys were in the crowd with anger in my eyes, but it was delightful. I thought it was a great show. The feel of the crowd, I mean, they seemed like they were really into it, except for these two really quiet guys in one of the rows. But other than that, it seemed great.
We'll get into that because, Dave, that morning, what time did you wake up for the day at?
Fucking
4 o'clock.
I was up.
What time did you get home from Full Gear?
I was in bed at quarter of 3, I think.
You got us home at your house at 2:30, so I got home like 2:45, 2:50.
So basically 23 hours later, after you started your day, you got home from the wrestling.
And I was throwing up on the
way home. We'll get to it because we have to explain the day before we explain how we took in Full Gear. So we were doing good.
I can't wait to hear.
Start off good.
What's that?
I can't wait to hear about Dave throwing up because he was so upset about William Regal's heel turn.
That broke my heart.
So we'll get to it. It only took us about 2.5 hours to get to New Jersey. We stopped at a great little pizza place, ran into another fan of the post show that was going to the show. So we all ate together there.
I'm glad they still have Sbarro's.
Oh no, this was a great little pizza place that was playing hip hop. I got a bowl of pasta that was way bigger than I expected.
Plug the name of the
Dave
place,
got
guys.
A pizza burger.
What was the name of the place?
Remember.
Something red.
It was next to like Red's Brew House in Newark, New Jersey. It's the next building down. Because we would have gone to Red's if they were open.
I was gonna plug the name of the pizza place, but then I got high. Then I got
a pizza burger. It was fucking excellent. Joe got like a supersized bowl of pasta.
That sounds amazing.
Man, angel hair pasta with vodka sauce. It was amazing.
Started the day off like
pizza.
10:30.
I had a similar thing. I started my day off with a bottle of vodka.
But yeah, then we went over to the live post podcast, which was great. It was their 5th year anniversary, and it was amazing hearing how they came up with the podcast. And even though they were leaving big time radio and TV jobs and going into podcasting, Dave and I identified with a lot of the struggles they had. They shared their conversation about coming up with a name and how it's almost never the first name that you try. You kind of work it between you guys, and eventually you come out with a name.
We should have tried that.
We had a short little run back and forth with names, and then getting to meet them afterwards. Everybody was very gracious, waiting, gave me a couple editing tips. We linked up with Andrew Thompson, who we're going to be interviewing next Friday at 1. He writes for Post and, was telling us to send him interviews so he can transcribe them. It was really great to meet the community and see how nice they are, like connecting with their fans.
I'd like to point out that we also left illustrious jobs. I mean, we left the grocery business and the restaurant business, and it wasn't an easy choice to make for this high fancy lifestyle we live now.
Yeah, we're killing. Sorry if we don't respond to your comment right away, Randy. We're too busy being fucking rich.
Plus, we don't know who Randy 3336 really is.
I never heard that, motherfucker.
At least use your real handle,
after
Randy.
We got done with.
At least use your real handle.
What's
Randall the Plowboy Frazier.
Okay. Now, we went from the live podcast to Red's Brew House to eat, and this place was packed. Every restaurant around the Prudential Center was packed, but this place was like, get a seat where you can. How long were we in there, Dave, before we actually got a seat?
I think about a half hour. It wasn't like we got lucky. Like there was some guy who kind of let us sit next to him who was getting out there. Like it was definitely a crazy atmosphere in that restaurant bar. Like I was amazed that people were even cleaning off tables. It looked like tables were just, it was swarmed. Like
let me see if I got this right. You guys went and ate big bowls of pasta before going to the post show.
Yeah.
You left the post show and then went to eat again.
Yeah, it'd been like 3 hours.
That second location.
He did not, but it was a good amount of time in between because the post show went a couple hours. But like what Joe didn't say is like we hung out and kept talking and maybe even longer than we were supposed to. Like I don't think we did it on purpose, but like people who weren't actually attending anymore had left, and we stuck around still talking to some of the guys who were like in the show. And it kind of dawned on me afterwards, like, I think we're the only motherfuckers here who were supposed to like not be here anymore because like other than like Chris, the gentleman who was with us, and our friend Scott, like everybody else was all people who do shows for them or associated with them.
So what I'm hearing is they were too nice to tell you to get the hell out.
They didn't notice us.
Kind of, we were escorted into the green room after the regular show was done, and I was in there talking for about 5 minutes before I'm like, are we supposed to be here?
No.
But like
we weren't. Because I overheard somebody, the guy escorting someone out, I overheard him say, "Oh no, not for you guys." But that wasn't for us. But we stayed too. Like, oh yeah, thanks, bro. We got you. No worries.
But
we
said all that to basically. Yeah, we said all that to say this, that by the time the show started, in my mind, I fully realized I had a 2.5 hour drive ahead of me after this 5-hour show. So
and that's if you're lucky.
Weighed me down a little bit. Yes.
Yeah. So we hit some highs and lows. We went into the show tired at this point, and the opening match was the cage match. And I remember it was a good match, right? And I listened to people
through the whole like we got to go through the pre-show first because remember we got in there and I'm like I'm gonna wait till the show starts to buy a shirt.
Okay.
And then the 10-man tag with the factory comes out, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go tempt those lines now because I don't want to miss anything. So I missed the Danhausen match. Whatever. What came after that?
I don't fucking remember. You look it up. I don't give a shit.
I think it was Starks, but I made it back in enough time for Eddie Kingston versus Jun Akiyama, and that was just a great match. I almost wondered why it wasn't on the main show, but the way that Eddie closed out that pre-show, I thought was great. And if I'm at home, I'd want to buy the pay-per-view based on that promo. promo.
Great pitch man. Like he's definitely the pitch man you want. But yeah, no, the pre-show, I didn't have a problem with the pre-show. It was fun. Maybe because I was excited for that Kingston match. But like to get where I was saying, the opening match though, by the time that started, I was feeling tired. And Freddie Prinze Jr. tells a great story on his podcast this week about his wife, Sarah Michelle Gellar, is he's watching Full Gear in his room because they don't want to disturb their son. He's watching something with his wrestler, right? So he's watching it. And Sarah comes in and she goes, oh, you're watching wrestling. And she goes, wait. She's like, is that Jack? Because Sarah was friends with Luke Perry, right? So now, excuse me. Sorry, Joe. The match starts and Jack Perry gets busted open hard way, as you recall. And Sarah's like, is that actual? But she's like, yep. And so now she's super invested and she's seeing Jack's mother and sister, and they're upset. And so she got invested. So she was super in that match and they loved the story. And in retrospect, it was. But in my retrospect, the fucking match took forever. I was tired and I was never invested in it. I didn't want the match. I'm like, let's move it along. And Luchasaurus is kicking out of near falls. And I'm like, really? Just put an end to this, Because that's where I was at that point in the show.
Yep. We were at an angle too where we were facing a corner of the cage. So it was kind of hard to get like a real good view on the ring. You can get a view from the screens above, but I didn't give too much of a shit about the match. Dave was tired. It was good, but it wasn't like the best.
So to put a button on this, I still don't believe Kerry Von Erich should have been the most popular wrestler in PWI Illustrated for 1984.
Great segue. Do you know what the next match was? Yeah.
Yes, it was the trios tag match. I could not tell you what happened after that.
Sorry,
sorry.
The point behind that was I just didn't give a shit about Luchasaurus.
No, I'm glad we segue into the trios match. All right, we can breeze through some of this, but it's important that we actually mention this one because it was at this point where I got my second win. Not during the match. I didn't give a fuck because I was still I knew the Elite was coming out. I'm like a lot of people. I'm just not overwhelmed by the whole Elite package. I think Kenny should be in the world title picture. And I've seen the Bucks so much over the last few years. It was a welcome break. I didn't care. So, but anyway, but I respect, they're good workers and everything. And I love Death Triangle. And I particularly love Pac. And I super respect Pac. But I didn't know they were going to do a best of 7, obviously. And we're starting off with this match in this return. So for me, I'd really like to see Pac and Death Triangle get to win. But in my mind, they're not going to win. This is the Elite's big return, right? So, and I know how the story's going to work. I even said this before, Joe. They're going to try to use the hammer, and Phoenix is going to say, no, we don't do that. And they're going to cost them, and they're going to lose their belts, and we do the reboot. It's so dumb.
You were wrong.
I was definitely wrong. And I'm going to tell you, this is where I perked up a little bit. So we get to that point where Luchasaurus has the hammer. And I'm like a fan now as a kid, but I'm rooting for the bad guy. And I remember hit him with the fucking hammer. Just hit him with
I can't believe Luchasaurus had the hammer.
Nah, fuck. Yeah. Okay, so Phoenix has the hammer. And he did. And I remember our crowd, Joe will talk about this in our section, was really mostly for the Elite. And I remember I came alive. I was like, yeah! I was like, you did the right thing. I was so happy.
I wasn't cheering for the Elite either, so I'm with you.
No. Yeah. And I was like, never been so more proud of the character of Rey Fenix.
The funny thing is that we won't go into Dynamite at all, but we will talk about the fact that now Death Triangle is actually up 2-0.
Right.
On the Elite.
And since we're not going to Dynamite, I will just throw this out there real quick. Kenny Omega, in his interview with Sports Illustrated, talking about how we want to move on from the CM Punk thing and, don't just let it go, fans, because stuff we can't talk about all sounds really great on paper. But then when they fucking start doing spots in the middle of the match, it's like, what was the point? Why did you even say that shit?
Or how about the fact that the crowd they were in Chicago just going absolutely ape shit for CM Punk.
Yeah. Whatever.
Well, that's another thing, because live at AEW Rampage or at AEW Full Gear, there were "fuck CM Punk" chants, and to me it was weird because we've heard CM Punk chants for years in arenas, and even though it ended on a down note, I'm not to a place where it's like "fuck CM Punk." I've seen the comeback, so I'm fine with him coming back again, but to turn on him that wildly, it almost shows how like wrestling fans can almost be a little particular.
My buddy Kristen, who has totally sided with the Bucks and Kenny Omega like he knows them or something, and most of this. That's how I feel. And so, but he texted me after the spots, and he showed me a tweet where they mocked the spots and everything. And I figured I know what he's going to say. But I was wrong again. And I didn't want to get into it, so I just said, yeah, I guess they're playing it up in Chicago. And he responded with, or Punk was right, and he worked with children. And I was like, oh, shit. And see, to me, that's what you're doing but because they're also vice presidents, it's a bad look for Tony and AEW too, to me. Like, it's like, if you took the time to say, well, this man was a problem in the locker room, and we want to get away from that, but then you start to mock that, it just looks silly. I don't know.
They did enough spots where I actually was thinking, is CM Punk coming
back? Right.
That was going to be my next question is, could this possibly all be a work leading up to some kind of CM Punk return?
Absolutely. Everything's a work.
Some kind of constructed situation.
Yeah. Right. And it's like, it could not be in the sense that like they might, but like, could it be? I like to think that somebody who's made as much money as probably as Tony Khan and his family did, there's probably part of him like, and this is a guy who grew up, right? Like he searched out things like Bill Watts' Mid-South Wrestling, right? And all the old territories where they had signs in the back where it'd be like personal issues draw money. I got to think there's a part of me that's like, this guy's like, okay, maybe we can smooth this over and maybe we can make some money.
But Dynamite, and like I said, I don't want to go into Dynamite, but it was full of shit that didn't make sense. Even the Regal Moxley told them walk away and don't ever come back. Yeah. Is Regal leaving the company?
I was curious about his contract status. I'm like, maybe this is a way to wrap it because like we can't, like when Danielson says he's got 2 bleeds on the brain and stuff like that. I'm like, is that wrong? It's not live today, is it?
No,
or maybe
taped. It was taped on your show, wasn't it?
Oh, we're watching live. No, it's at like 4:00 today, so I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to do that. So,
oh, is it? It's that early?
It is at 4:00 today.
Yeah. So.
Yes, then I will be watching it because I will
for Joe have time. Yeah.
Yep. And getting to Randy's earlier point, and we'll drop this in because Dave and I can't remember a particular match order after this. Certain matches stuck out, but like outside of the main event and the tag title match right before it, it gets a little hazy in the middle there because that's when I was really starting to feel tired and considering how long the show was.
There was one other one. I actually, for Jamie Hayter, again, because I assumed they weren't going to give it to her. Jamie Hayter, baby.
So the only time I texted Dave during the show was actually when Jamie Hayter won because I was so excited that Jamie Hayter won the freaking title. And the fact that it's now the actual women's title and not an interim championship.
Yeah, I was happy to see that too, the follow up on that too.
Yes, now Randy is making mention of Ricky Steamboat making his comeback this weekend, and I actually wanted to mention this because if you're on Fight TV, there are 3 events basically put on by Big Time Wrestling. The first of which is going to air tonight at 6, and it's the match that I was there live for with FTR with Bret Hart in their corner, taking on Brock Anderson and Brian Pillman Jr. with Arn in their corner. Tomorrow night will be FTR versus the Rock and Roll Express. And then Sunday night will be Ricky Steamboat with the Rock and Roll Express versus I forget what the full card is, but 3 big time wrestling events.
There's a mystery partner, right?
Yeah, there is a mystery partner. I'm wondering who it could be. AJ, what did you want to say about this comeback?
First of all, it's not a comeback. He's not coming back to wrestle. He's coming back to wrestle this weekend, and then he will be gone. This is his final match. To say that it's a comeback makes it sound like he's freaking coming back to wrestle full time. It's not a fucking comeback. It's a one-off. Secondly, he has had more health problems, unfortunately, than actually Ric Flair has had. To be honest with you,
yes and no.
Yeah, but remember he had the neck injury for years.
Right.
He had the aneurysm in the ring.
I know.
Right. I don't want to see this man take a bump.
I agree. I agree.
He's going to go to do an arm drag and I'm going to be like, oh shit, don't die.
He looked better, Rick, than Rick walking around. But although I don't know, like those training videos they had produced with Rick, like they made you think Rick looked good. I'm like, shit, Rick, all right.
Well, we haven't even seen training videos of Ricky Steamboat.
You know,
and to be fair, it is an 8-man tag, so I think they're taking into consideration everything.
I mean, it could be worse. It could be Ricky Steamboat's son.
But I highly recommend picking up this package. It's like $25 for all 3
hell yeah.
events.
Support it.
$9.99 for each one. The one I went to was amazing, and I bought it just to see that one. But getting back to this card, Dave, the women's match stood out for you, the title match.
Right.
I liked the tag title or the tag match with Jarrett and Lethal versus Darby and Sting. But live, if you looked down for a minute, like I did at my phone, I totally lost where the action was because they were in the stands on one side of the arena. Darby Allin's jumping off a ladder on the other side of the arena. That got the crowd going.
I saw Sting do that dive, and me myself, because I'm not watching on TV, I'll tell AJ will get this especially. I started to focus on Sting because I knew I'm like, okay, he's going to do that. He's going to do something, and I want to see that because there's a part of me like I want to see it. I want to root for him, and also don't die. I want to know you're okay.
I love Jeff Jarrett, but there's only so much Jeff Jarrett's going to do. Even when Jeff Jarrett was young, there was only so much Jeff Jarrett was going to do.
It's true. Like, it's crazy to think that. Jeff Jarrett's in better shape than Sting and can move around, but he's not going to be taking the dive.
We've seen Jeff Jarrett do his strut. That's not going to do anything for me at this point.
No, but Sting did, and the crowd was going crazy. And this was a match I enjoyed because I honestly just like seeing Sting and Jeff Jarrett in the ring together. It's kind of a nostalgia thing. And what AEW, one thing they've done well is with Sting, the way they bring him out, he comes out with these tag matches. They don't win all of them, but they win a majority of them, and they're feel-good moments, and he does something big. And I really love the way AEW has positioned Sting. And for me saying that negative stuff about AEW earlier and stuff like that, I have to say this is something they do really well, and I enjoy this.
For me, it's one of those things where I'm just wondering who's going to die first, Sting or Darby. That's because they both do insane shit. The difference is one of them's 28 and one of them is 60-something.
I got to say, shout out the front of the show, Scott, who made a comment. And then I think John Pollock actually said it on his post show, too, afterwards. Satnam Singh, we found a role for him. And it's just basically catching Darby and then throwing Darby around. Because I don't know if I want to see this guy wrestle, as both of them eloquently said. But there's something entertaining about him catching Darby from these high up spots and then tossing him.
Yeah, I would love to see him in a 3-way dance with Braun Strowman and Omos. I think that's better than any of those little motherfuckers you like to watch.
AJ and Braun will be on Twitter this week telling you why they don't like flippy wrestlers.
we would invite Vader, but he died.
Now, AJ, tell us how you enjoyed the main event, and then Dave and I will kind of recount our enjoyment of it.
All right, home.
Obviously, we have different angles on it. I watched it via my 72-inch TV. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I thought that the two of them worked their asses off. I love that Regal got involved in it. I don't know about you, but I kind of saw. I
Yeah.
think being in the crowd, it might have been harder to see the turn coming.
No,
Oh no!
not for me.
Gotcha. I saw the turn coming a mile away.
Yeah,
The way they set it up, so
I
it wasn't quite as enjoyable, but good for them.
I doubted Regal the moment I saw him bracing like he wanted to hit MJF in the beginning of the match. I was like, what a pro. But I'm like, I don't buy it for a second. Like I've seen this turn coming since Regal and MJF cut those promos on each other that everybody was talking about. I said, this is way too much. Like I feel like Regal is going to get involved. But they're such good characters. A lot of people had doubted and really believed MJF was going to be a babyface. For me, highlight was watching the press conference later when AJF basically comes out.
Was great.
It was great when you think I'm gonna be a good guy because I put over this motherfucker. Point at Tony Khan, no offense, you know. And then when he's just like pulling the Jim Cornette, thank you, fuck you, goodbye, and you just hear him yell, "Champs!" here, you know, yelling out. It was great. I'm ready to go at this point. But I thought they delivered. MJF doing the Fargo strut and stuff throughout the match. Good stuff. They gave us what we wanted. But I wasn't shocked.
How was the crowd reaction when MJF won?
I still thought he got a lot of positive response for the most part.
I'm going to say I didn't notice it because the second they counted the 3, I looked over to Scott and Dave and I'm like, let's beat this crowd out of the building. So I'm sure inside the arena it was much louder, but we were already running for the nearest stairwell.
So the way it played off watching it on TV, it was almost like a grenade, how it had the delay. Like people were shocked a little bit at what happened. And then all of a sudden it hit them. MJF was the champion. And it seemed like they got more excited once they realized, once it set in.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good moment. But like Joe said, at this point, we're ready to go home. We're a little fired up. We're a little goofy. We're making some jokes on the way there. At this point, At this point, I took a bump on the way to the truck. I was walking.
Was it icy out?
No, I don't know what happened. I had my hood over my eyes. I just fell. But in the words of Scott Hall, I got back up. Here's what
the end of Dave's.
Yeah, so here's something we can talk about.
So end of Dave's adventures on the ride home.
As AJ figured out, I had ate already a couple times during that day. Now, I was battling a stomach bug going into the event, but it's starting to feel a little better. Naturally,
but you're a warrior.
You're a warrior. We had that pizza burger in the morning. We had some wings. Then we had some fish and chips the second go around. Mixed it up nice, french fries. And then we got into the arena. Better believe Dave wants some dessert, so I got myself one of those cinnamon sugar pretzels, couple bottles of Coke. They don't do cans. And then I was done. And then Scott, he got himself some food finally. He had those chicken tenders. He's like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'll have one. Something about that last chicken tender because I remember eating it and it didn't quite leave me. It tasted good, but it didn't quite leave me. And then Joe's truck, I was riding the back, which was bumpy on the way up, but it didn't bother me as much. Suddenly started to have a different effect on me. And I started feeling like, oh, this is car sick. And I don't know if it was car sick or the chicken wings or a little bit of both. But I was like, okay, we're not going to. And Joe said, do we need to stop? And, I'm like, no, we're gonna battle through. We're going to battle through. That may last about a half hour, 40 minutes. And I said, Joe, that rest stop. And Joe said, oh, we're serious. Because at this point, Joe, I think, thought we might have been joking because he didn't know I was going to try to fucking go for it.
I asked him, and I don't think it was 100% a yes, we need to stop. You're just like, oh, yeah, I'm going through some things, and I'm hearing him burping and blowing back there. It was kind of like, I think he's hoping to not have to puke. And then I'm hoping. Just hear him get more serious in his voice.
Yeah. And, go ahead.
I'm going to actually pitch something to you guys here. I have an idea for a new show. We go to wrestling events, and on the way, we call it Road Stories. How much can we feed Dave?
Yeah, well,
Before
I mean,
he
we're trying to keep.
backs.
There's people that are trying to keep me alive as we speak. So I'll just say,
God, if the hashtag don't tell Jen hashtag was ever needed, this would be the time.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, we know Jen is not going to watch this. She'll be next to my wife, not watching the show.
So we will, I will just say this. Then we finally made it to a rest stop. And the moment I got out of the car, I don't know if Joe knows this or not even. As soon as I closed the door, I took about 2 steps and it was like, bleh, and I just took that first throw up bump. All right, that first vomit bump. And then I made it to the bathroom and nothing. I was like, okay. And then there was a knock on the door and there's only a 1-fer. So I'm like, all right, I got to get out of here then. So I left. And as soon as I made it out the door, vomit bump number 2. It took a few more steps. Vomit number 3. Vomit number 4. And then I realized there was some woods and area, a little grass that no one could see me at. Made it there. Vomit 5, 6. We got back. Dave fell asleep with no seatbelt on in the back. Hope for the best. We made it. And I woke up. We were in Dude City. So
I'm just glad that's not where you chose to take a bump. That would have been horrible. Just feet up in the air, landing in the puke.
Yeah, it was definitely a combination.
At that point, I was just surviving in the truck. Like, I was still going good. There was no hope of me falling asleep, but like I was in the zone. I wasn't allowing myself to be tired. But at that point, I was definitely like, all right, we're in the home stretch. We just got to get there safe. And we made it. There was no falling asleep like the bus driver. I actually bought the Full Gear pay-per-view because I wanted to see how it came across on TV, because I think our being tired really affected that. We had a great time meeting the post guys, and that was almost the main event of the day in a way.
And Rowdy Piper was the most,
which is a shame because it was actually a very good pay-per-view.
And speaking of good pay-per-views, Rowdy Piper was voted the most hated man in 1984 by PW or Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Let's get to these Pro Wrestling Illustrated rankings. We're gonna do these quick because
now that we took that 5-minute segue.
I know. I was gonna say I came up with it as a segment, kind of as a space filler, because we didn't have a 5-3-1 this week, and we were just kind of getting to some fan memories. And what was our favorite Survivor Series? Any of the old ones? I like the classic 5-on-5.
Am I the only one who didn't realize Survivor Series was this weekend?
That's kind of funny.
I'm watching Monday Night Raw. And they're like, yeah, Survivor Series this Saturday. I'm like, what?
Did you watch last week?
I did know about that because we are going to be talking the results with Andrew Thompson next week. I didn't even think to do, guys, fuck the 1984 rankings. That segment's out the door. Let's talk Survivor Series because we probably next week we're talking 1985. Maybe we'll fit it in. We'll try and plan better. It's Black Friday. We're cutting loose. I'm still full of brisket from yesterday. I don't know about you guys.
I will tell you that David Von Erich was not the comeback wrestler of 1984.
He was not.
So what?
I got Survivor Series matches here.
No, you got him. Beautiful.
I got him.
All right, let's make some predictions and then we'll wrap this thing up.
Okay, I think he was going to ask a question. I'll just say.
Go ahead, ask questions.
Looking most forward to is we'll get to predictions in order, but the main event. And I don't think AJ might have saw this, judging by the way he was surprised at Survivor Series this weekend. Kevin Owens, when he actually came out, you probably heard about it, came out on SmackDown last week. But Owens, he just cut a hell of a promo. Actually, this week on Raw, that's when AJ is probably like, oh shit, that's this weekend. Because when Owens cuts a promo,
that's when I realized it.
Right. I got to say this. I've been saying it to anyone who listens, and there's some people who told me they get chills at this idea, but Cody Rhodes winning the title over Roman after an unstoppable almost 3-year reign comes in and wins it for his father, Dusty Rhodes, is an emotional thing, and I think people like that. However, I do have to say, the other guy that should win this fucking world title is the man who almost in storyline beat him several times right in the beginning, and he's not lying when he almost ended it early. And it was just main event Jay and Paul at the time, handcuffing him and doing all this stuff because there's nobody that shows more fire in his comebacks, whether on the microphone or in the ring, than Kevin Owens. So for me, he's just as deserving, and I would not mind seeing Kevin get this belt.
We love Kevin Owens. We're all Kevin Owens fans.
Man.
That's and when he's a face, when they let him be Kevin Owens, the crowd is behind him. It's no different than Sami Zayn. Zayn, when they let him be Sami Zayn, the crowd is behind him.
Kevin and Sami, that's why. Besides the fact the Bloodline's been untouchable, Sami in particular, and now Kevin on the other side. This is the match I'm looking forward to. But let's go. We'll do the results.
They make me want to be Usi.
We're gonna go in the order of America's most trusted news source, Wikipedia, and we'll start off with the Women's War Games, where I have to say, okay, the story of this is basically it's Belair, Bliss, Asuka, Mia Yim. Yeah, she's back to Mia Yim. She wasn't for a second, but now she's back, and a mystery partner against Damage Control and Nikki Cross and Rhea Ripley. Okay,
I think it's going to be Becky Lynch.
Got to go to bed. And is it going to be Becky? Or is it going to be Sasha? Or is it going to be Beth Phoenix? You seem to think it's going to be Beth?
I think it could be Beth. I think it's going to be Becky Lynch.
Oh, Becky. I'm sorry. You think it's going to be Becky. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, she's been around actually from news sources that I've seen. She's actually was at Raw and has been medically cleared.
I'm going to say I'll go out on a limb. I think you're actually right now because I feel like Sasha and Naomi would come back together. But it's Boston. It's what I want. So I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say it's Sasha Banks. And I'll say either way, the baby faces are going over here.
So what time are you guys going to Survivor Series?
We're not going to Survivor Series.
I'm kidding. I didn't know you guys were going to Full Gear, so I figured.
You never know.
That Newark trip took enough out of me. I've been messed up all this week. My timing's been off. It's been rough at work. Like, I don't know if I could do back weekend trips.
Yeah, I'm picking the good guys in this one. I think Damage Control goes over.
All right. I don't know why Wikipedia had. I wish I didn't go in this order, but whatever. So they have the Men's War Games next. Not that they know the order. This is a tough one for me because the Bloodline is the hot commodity here, but I feel like they're going to lose because I feel like this is going to be the storyline. It's Sami is either going to lose or Jey Uso is going to cost Sami or just something's going to happen here. And I say that's got to cause some stuff for future storylines.
I think the Bloodline has to lose. You haven't been able to beat the Bloodline because if you beat them, you take their titles.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Sorry. Breaking news I got here. I'll just keep to myself. Ronda Rousey versus Shotzi. This has got to be Rousey all day. No offense to Shotzi. There's nothing they've done to make me think that Shotzi has a chance to win this title at all.
Yeah, I don't even see her coming close.
This is pre-show, right?
No, that's main card.
No, it's if anything, you'll actually see. I think that Ronda and Shayna Baszler are coming together as a group. Yeah. And if anything, you might see Shotzi just get the shit beat out of her.
I don't. Yeah, this is the one that I don't get. And then we got AJ Styles versus Finn Balor. This could be a show stealer just because you're talking about two of the best wrestlers in the world. Finn, obviously, with the Judgment Day, is starting to really get some shine. I feel like AJ, it's great that Gallows and Anderson are back, but they still haven't really, in my mind, give AJ the shine he deserves. I don't think he's getting it here either. They've just continued to put Judgment Day over, and something tells me we're building up to another program with Edge and Finn because Beth Phoenix is going to come back at some point. And, so...
The only chance AJ has is if Edge and Beth Phoenix come out and interfere in this match.
Yeah, which maybe they are. You know what? Maybe they are. So I'm going to say just because I think he's due for a win, I'll go AJ Styles here.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm going to go Finn Balor.
Okay. You're probably right. Yeah, fuck it. Finn Balor. All right. Talk me out of it. Huh?
All right. Since you want to do that, I'll go AJ.
Good. Go AJ. All right.
Now, and then the last match. Should we get at least one traditional Survivor Series match on the show?
No.
I'm always a sucker for them.
Yeah, nah, I'm fine with it. I mean, it'd been fine, but like now that we're doing the War Games, like that's good enough. You know, we got 2 War Games matches.
If you want a traditional Survivor Series match, tune in Sunday, and you'll be able to watch Ricky Steamboat's final match when there's 30 people on the apron.
But well, not necessarily the main event, but the U.S. title match. We got Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley versus Austin Theory. Look, Theory, despite people being a little upset that he tried to cash his briefcase on the U.S. title, and he lost. The promo he cut afterwards and everything he's done since been pretty well done. Bobby Lashley has been extremely well protected, but Seth Rollins is definitely the guy right now, I think, in the company, and he's probably, besides Kevin Owens and a returning Cody, and if we're going to get The Rock back, Seth Rollins is probably the other guy who's being protected and built for eventual match with Roman. So I say Seth gets this done here. And
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think Seth Rollins is going over here. I think Bobby Lashley is going to get screwed over. And by the way, Austin Theory cashing in on the U.S. title is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, well, a lot of people.
I've seen some stupid shit. All right, what else do you got, Dave? There's got to be more matches.
No, that was it. I thought that's all. I'm sorry. That was it. That's 5 matches.
Holy crap!
Remember when WWE was accused of going long on pay-per-views, and now they really seem to rein it in, and AEW has taken over with going the full midnight.
Yeah. No, I think I'm guessing is these War Games matches are going to get some time, and that's what I will expect.
Well, you got to remember they have to. Well, they have to get time. You start off with 2 people,
right,
and then one comes in. So sometimes they can take. I've seen how War Games take 45 an hour.
Yeah, I think you're going to look at both these matches are going to be a half hour to 45 minutes, and then I would imagine, Seth and AJ and Finn could get some time too. I would imagine the quick match is going to be Shotzi and Ronda Rousey. I just no offense to Shotzi.
To me, War Games doesn't feel right if I don't have Iron Anderson looking eye to eye with Dusty Rhodes to start it off.
Oh, you know what? I see Randy had asked the question, what's your favorite tournament you ever watched? It's kind of funny because it was the 98 Survivor Series. And that was the one. And Randy actually mentioned this a couple weeks ago. But when Rock actually won the world title tournament and they screwed over Mankind the following year with the whole screw job parody, basically. But I enjoyed that tournament format and everything, too. And that was actually one of my favorite Survivor Series.
I enjoyed WrestleMania 4 when the Macho Man won the world title with the help of Hulk Hogan against that dastardly Ted DiBiase and that stinky giant.
Very believable. All right.
Well, guys, we'll be coming back next week with 1985. We'll do like we did last week with a rundown of the year. We'll interject some memories. But guys, I'm going to play this beautiful intro video for you one more time because AJ's been talking so much trash on the old video that AJ
just